It's time for NFL Week 6. I got 5 player props and 3 anytime touchdowns. Let's go! What's going on, everyone? Welcome back in to another episode for Just a Bet Outside. I'm your host, Steven, and we're here to talk Week 6 NFL player props, baby. That's right. Happy Saturday, first of all. Hope you guys are all enjoying the weekend. Had a great Friday the 13th. We got NLCS and ALCS coming up. Football this weekend. It is a great time to be alive, that's for sure. So, if you're looking for just the game bets, that is in our video. Go check it out on our channel. We release it every Wednesday night, late night, and we got a lot of bets for you in that one. So before I dive in, hit that like button, guys. It really helps this channel grow. Leave a comment below. Let me know your best bets or anything you want to say. If you have a question for me, if you just want to say hi, let me know your weekend plans. That works too. So thank you guys for the support. I appreciate it. If you are new to the channel, be sure to hit subscribe. We are getting so close to 7,000 subscribers. That's freaking awesome. It's going so quick. Appreciate all of you. In this video, we're going to start out by giving you guys the defenses that give up the most and least fantasy points to running backs and the most and least to wide receivers. Now, I know it's fantasy points. It mostly helps with fantasy. It can also help with your bets too. If you're trying to bet over under props and see what teams are good against certain positions. So hopefully that can help you out. And then I have 5. That's right, 5 player props for this week. And then I finish it off with 3 half unit anytime touchdown bets. We got a lot to get into, and let's not waste any more time. Let's dive right into the stats. All right, let's start out with the teams that have given up the least amount of fantasy points per game to running backs. This should really help you guys with your lineups if you're looking at different lineup decisions and stuff. We got the Falcons. How about giving up only 12.16 points to running backs? Now, that is not just running back one, that is all running backs for these stats. Pretty impressive. We know the Lions have a great run defense as well as the Eagles. Other than that, surprises here, probably just other than the Falcons, would be maybe the Jaguars and Vikings just playing the running backs well. Vikings don't play receivers as well, but yeah, those are the top 10. I mean, anywhere from 12 to 17 points allowed only for the top 10. And as you can see below, it does not include the Broncos or the Chiefs because they already played this week. So let's check out the bottom 10 now. The teams that have given up the most fantasy points to running backs. Number 1 or number 32, I guess, if you look at it that way, 30.48 fantasy points. The Carolina Panthers are struggling all over the field right now. The Chicago Bears, 30.3. Cardinals, Packers, surprising 27.7. Other than that, some of these are bad defenses. It's not any surprise. We know the Texans struggle against the run, but are better against the pass. But it is surprising to see the Jets with their D line giving up 24.88 fantasy points per game to running backs, as well as the Bills. So, anyways, those are the bottom 10. Let's go check out those receivers now. Here are the teams just shutting down those wide receivers. And again, this isn't just wide receiver one, it is all of them. Cleveland Browns helps when you get a lot of pressure on the quarterback, only 16.98 fantasy points to all receivers on the other team. That's insane per game, obviously. And then Jets, Cowboys, nothing new there. Texans, like I mentioned, are good against the pass. Falcons, good pass rush this year, only giving up 27.4. Rams, nothing really surprising here. Maybe the Raiders being in the top 10 at 31.96. But yeah, take a screenshot. Those are the top 10. Let's go check out who is absolutely sucking against wide receivers. I don't want to talk about the last team, but I will. It's my Seattle Seahawks. 48.2 fantasy points per game given up to wide receivers. That is freaking ugly. If you're worse than the Chargers on that, that's just not pretty. And then you got the Vikings. Obviously, the Broncos, I think we're actually 32nd, to be honest with you, but I'm leaving them out. So I do just want to point that out. Eagles struggled against the pass this year. Commanders, Steelers, and things like that. And I'll use some of this in regards to how I find player props. Not necessarily fantasy points all the time, but just defense versus positions and all that. So Dolphins struggled. Colts, good run defense, bad pass defense. Their secondary has been struggling. So other than that, as you saw, the Lions don't give up many points to running backs, but they do to wide receivers at 37.38. So that's the research help I got for you today. Hopefully that helps you out one way or the other, whether it's fantasy lineups or betting on a running back or receiver or any sort of player prop. So that's what we got. Now, before we dive into my 5 favorite player props, a quick word from OddsJam. All right, I'm going to keep it short and simple, guys. There's 2 promo codes to use for OddsJam right now. Jabo14 now gets you a 14-day free trial. You can have access to absolutely everything on the website, or you can go Jabo25, 25% off your first month. They have so much there, guys. In NBA, it is just money on OddsJam for NBA player props in the NFL. Anything you want, OddsJam is there to help you. Very user-friendly website. Go check it out. Use that promo code to help you out. All right, it's time. Let's get into the best bets. All right, let's start it off with Mr. Matthew Stafford over 276.5 passing yards at minus 115 on DraftKings. Yes, I already bet Matthew Stafford over last week, and yes, we lost, but I am going back to it. So here we go. This is going to be the easiest matchup he has all season long going up against the Cardinals, guys. Stafford has gone over this in 3 of the 5 games, and the 2 he went under were against teams that actually got a good amount of pressure on him that game in Cincinnati and the Philadelphia Eagles. In the 3 games that he went over, he actually went over 300 yards in those 3 games. Now, let's talk about the Cardinals. They don't get a lot of pressure. 16.3% quarterback pressure rate. Only the Broncos have a worse quarterback pressure rate. So he should have all the time in the world in this game. Other than that, the Cardinals allowed the 5th most passing yards and the 4th highest completion percentage to quarterbacks or to teams this year. I think it's a bounce back game. We saw the Rams play a good first half last week against the Eagles, and then they got shut down in the second half. We all know that Eagles defense, they got some pressure on them, and they are a much better defense than this Arizona Cardinal team. I expect Cooper Kupp and Nakua to literally be open everywhere. I believe the Cardinals play quite a bit of zone, and that's just not going to be pretty for these 2 guys. I know their props are high, but man, they could have some really good games and help out Stafford's passing yards. And also, only Kirk Cousins this year has more passing attempts through 5 weeks than Matthew Stafford, and it's 204 to 203. That's right. Stafford throws the ball an absolute crap ton, which also helps. I think he goes over 300 yards, but I would gladly take the over 276.5 pass yards as my first bet. Now let's move on to bet number 2. All right, who's ready for a kicker prop? Here we go. Bet number 2, Jake Elliott of the Philadelphia Eagles over 1.5 field goals at minus 130 on DraftKings. That's right. It's minus 130. It's a little juicy, I know, but guys, I still think it's good value. This kicker, Jake Elliott, he's a stud. 16 for 17 on field goals this year, and he's gone over this in every single game, making 2+ field goals. He's actually had 3 or more field goal attempts in every single game this year, but because he missed one, that means he's made 3+ field goals in 4 of 5 games. 3+. I only need 2. Now, they are going up against the Jets defense. They're obviously a good defense. They're not elite, so they could stop them in the red zone. They have a decent red zone defense. But here's the crazy part. That's right. There's stats for kickers too. The Jets have given up the most field goal attempts to their opponent per game in the entire NFL at 3.4 field goal attempts. I don't see any way Jake Elliott doesn't get at least 3 field goal attempts, which even gives him room to miss one. Hopefully he doesn't. But I like Jake Elliott to go over 1.5 field goals. I know, like I said, it's minus 130. It's juicy. If you want to add another kicker prop to it, I almost added Younghoe Koo over 1.5 field goals. I think he has a good game. That would be a nice little 2-leg parlay. But I'm going to stay it safe with Jake Elliott over 1.5 field goals. Now let's move on to bet number 3. All right, this third one takes us to kind of an unknown receiver for the Indianapolis Colts. We got Josh Downs over 45.5 receiving yards at minus 114 on FanDuel. So I found this one because I have Michael Pittman on like 1 or 2 fantasy leagues, and I was wondering why his volume and why his numbers were going down a little bit. It's because of Josh Downs, guys. Last week, 6 catches for 97 yards. In week 3, 8 catches for 57 yards. He's just been a huge target. With Gardner Minshew throwing the ball, he's getting as many targets and part of the target share, offensive snaps, all that, as Michael Pittman. I mean, Gardner Minshew loves to look his way. Jags have given up the 10th most receiving yards to wide receivers through 5 weeks. I think this game has the potential to be kind of a shootout. Hopefully the Colts take it if you watched our head-to-head bet. But Josh Downs, I don't think the books have caught up. 45.5 is too low. Pretty good matchup. Just had 97 yards on 6 catches. This guy can get him in chunks also. So Gardner Minshew likes him. I like him. Give me Downs over 45.5 receiving yards, and let's move on to bet number 4. All right, we are sticking to the wide receivers. Here we go. Bet number 4, Drake London over 3.5 receptions at minus 114 on FanDuel. And by the way, how cool is it that he scored a touchdown in London? Nobody's talking about it. It's probably the highlight of his life, or maybe not. He only had 3 catches that game. But anyways, in his last 4 games, he's gone over this in 2 of the last 4. But in the 2 that he went over, he had 6 catches in each game. And here's the common denominator. They were both at home. Desmond Ridder and this Falcons offense plays much better at home. Much better is a loose term. They're not that great in general. But Ridder has actually not lost a single home game in the NFL or in college. Just a little stat for you. So we need a good Ritter in order to get this. But like I said, in 2 home games, he had 6 catches going over this very easily. The Commanders this season have given up 9 for 175 to AJ Brown, 7 catches to Devontae Smith for 78, 8 for 230 to DJ Moore, 8 for over 100 to Stephon Diggs, and 5 for 66 to Cortland Sutton. What's the common denominator? Number one receivers that they can't freaking guard at all. So give me Drake London over 3.5 catches. We only need him to catch 4, guys. That's it. I even like his over 43.5 receiving yards total if you want to go that route. But give me over 3.5 catches to have it done for the third time in 3 home games. Now, let's move on to a nice little under parlay. All right, this last one is kind of ugly. For those of you that don't like unders, turn your head because I got a couple of them. Now, because I'm a man of the people and want to help you guys out, I didn't want to just give you one under because that's really boring. Let's at least spice it up, give you a 2-leg under parlay. And here we go. Derrick Henry under 66.5 rush yards. Joe Mixon under 61.5 rush yards at plus 249 on DraftKings. I know this sucks, guys. You're rooting for 2 unders. But on the bright side, at least my time, the London game starts at 6:30 a.m. So I don't really have to sweat that out too much because I will not be up at 6:30 a.m. But anyways, here we go. Let's start with Derrick Henry now. He's starting to become a little bit of a part of a committee with Tajay Spears. Nobody's really talking about it, but Derrick Henry's not doing that well this year, averaging 3.8 yards per carry, and he's gone under this total in 3 of 5 games this year. He went over against the Bengals and the Chargers, who both suck at stopping the run, to be honest with you. So those are 2 good matchups. He had 13 carries only last week. He's not really carrying the ball like 28 times like he used to or anything like that. And he went against a good run defense in the Colts last week and only had 43 yards on the ground. Now he faces the Baltimore Ravens that give up the 6th lowest rush yards per carry in the league at 3.6. They've been really good against the run this year. And only one running back in the entire season has gone over this total versus the Ravens. Zach Moss, of course. Why wouldn't it be Zach Moss? So give me Henry under 66.5 yards. He's not going to get as many carries as he used to, and they have not been as effective. Obviously, it's in London. Weird things happen. But anyways, second part, Joe Mixon under 61.5 rushing yards. He is facing my Seattle Seahawks, who are giving up the lowest yards per carry to running backs this year at only 2.6. 2.6. That's absolutely insane. Seahawks this year, 9 carries for 24 yards to Miles Sanders, 14 carries for 30 yards to Matt Breida, 16 for 67 to David Montgomery, the only one that has gone over, 15 for 59 to Kyren Williams in week 1, and 22 carries for 29 yards to Cam Akers in the same game in week 1. So that means one running back has gone over this total, and it's barely over with David Montgomery, and they have an elite offensive line. That Lions run game is much better than this Joe Mixon-led run game for the Bengals. Mixon, not much better than Derrick Henry, averaging only 3.9 yards per carry, and man, is he boring to watch. There's just not a lot of explosiveness with Joe Mixon, that's for sure. Bengals, they don't have the dominant O-line for running the ball, as I already mentioned. And Burrow in this passing game, they may be back. It was the Cardinals. We'll see. But he did look a little bit more agile, and he threw the ball downfield well. They might be getting T. Higgins back. This might be more of a pass-happy Bengals team, especially if they're getting shut down at the line of scrimmage like the Seahawks have been doing all season long. So I am fading 2 running backs averaging under 4 yards a carry against 2 top-tier run defenses. Let's hold our breath, plug our nose, and root for an under parlay. That's right. But now, you heard my 5 best player prop bets. It's time to talk some anytime touchdowns. All right, we start with the first touchdown bet of week 6. Alvin, lights, Kamara, action, baby. Anytime touchdown, minus 110 on DraftKings. He is averaging 25, right around 25 touches per game in the last 2 weeks. That's like top 5 in the NFL, guys. They are using him over and over. Obviously, he's only been there for a couple weeks since the suspension. He scored a touchdown last week. Now he's facing the Houston Texans, tied for the 4th most running or touchdowns to running backs allowed this season. We know they allow those running back touchdowns. They're good against the pass. Kamara, Mr. Kamara, he can score through the air too, which is great. He could, like I said, his first game back, he had like 13 catches. He's good in the pass game, in the run game. I like him to get a touchdown. This is kind of one of my safer anytime touchdown bets, as you can tell, at minus 110. So I like it. FanDuel had like minus 135. I don't know if I'd bet it. It's a little high for me, but on DraftKings, you get minus 110. So that's my first anytime touchdown bet. My second one is DJ Moore. That's right, baby. The receiver for the Bears, anytime touchdown. And get this, FanDuel has him at plus 190. That is insane to me. He has found his groove with Justin Fields. 1+ touchdown in 3 straight games. And in those 3 games, how about 5 touchdowns? That's right, 5 touchdowns in 3 games. And FanDuel is dropping a number of plus 190 for him. He's facing the Vikings. You would think he's facing a tough team with those odds. The Vikings are tied for giving up the 4th most touchdowns to wide receivers this year at 6 touchdowns. We know the Vikings defense isn't very good. They don't get a ton of pressure. They're not good in the secondary. I just think it's a great matchup. He's an absolute roll, and we're getting almost plus 200. You got to jump on it. Give me DJ Moore anytime touchdown. The third one, my boy, the Seattle Seahawks, Kenneth Walker, anytime touchdown at plus 100. He has 5 rushing touchdowns this year already. That's right, 5. 1+ touchdown in 3 straight games. I like the odds there, plus 100. He's getting 17 or 18 carries in 3 straight games, so he's getting the volume. Bengals have given up not necessarily the most touchdowns. They've only given up a couple touchdowns this year to running backs. But the Bengals have given up the 5th most rush yards to running backs this season. And even though they've only given up 2, so have the Detroit Lions only given up 2 rushing touchdowns. You know who that was to? Both of those were to Kenneth Walker. No other running back has scored a touchdown on the Detroit Lions. So I don't think the matchup really matters. He's going to get the volume. I expect him to score a touchdown versus the Cincinnati Bengal team. Now, just a reminder, those are all a half unit for me because anytime touchdowns, you kind of need some luck with those too. But those are the 3 best anytime touchdowns, the 5 best player props. Let's check out that bets recap. All right, there it is. We go back to the well of Matthew Stafford, over 276.5 pass yards. Jake Elliott, the kicker for the Philadelphia Eagles, over 1.5 field goals at minus 130. Again, if you want to add another one, Young Wei Koo might not be a bad one, over 1.5 field goals. He's also minus 110, I think, so you could just do 2 separate bets also. Josh Downs, the receiver for the Colts, over 45.5 receiving yards at minus 114. And then we got Drake London Bridges falling down, over 3.5 receptions at minus 114. And then the under parlay, baby. Who has the guts to tail an under parlay? Derrick Henry, under 66.5 rush yards. Mixon, under 61.5 rush yards at plus 249 on DraftKings. And the anytime touchdowns, Alvin Kamara, DJ Moore, Kenneth Walker, all single bets and all a half unit. So there we go. That's NFL Week 6, baby. The game bets are in that other video. These are the player props. We got a lot of bets out there. Let's get some freaking winners. Let's keep going on this roll that we've been on, up almost 5 units on the year, but we can be better. So thank you guys for the support. I really appreciate it. Hope everyone has a great weekend, and we'll talk to you soon.